wanted to discuss a little bit about soil testing and just understanding that process. Once those samples are in the bag and in transit to the laboratory, we're talking then somewhere between 7 to 10 business days for those results to come back. We've developed a process called SASSE: soil, acidity, salinity, structure, elements, and then we follow that up with our recommendation using the 5 R's to come up with a strategy to apply those nutrients. The first one is soil, things like colour and texture, organic carbon, and also our soil biology, and there's plenty of microbial and biological tests coming onto the market that will add some more data to that part of the process. We can't do a lot to change those, but we can manage what we've got. The next part is acidity or alkalinity, so pH in water, aluminium saturation in percentage of cations, and understanding what toxicity may be present and how crop species might perform under some of those constraints. So really quite important, particularly as we expand some of the cotton areas into uncharted soils for cotton, understanding whether those ranges that we think we know still apply to those new regions. And the other one is cation exchange capacity. Now that's a measure of the heaviness or the lightness of our soil and our ability to hold nutrients. And again, that's most important in particularly some of those subtropical and now tropical environments where we're trying to hold nutrient for crop demand later in the season. The ameliorant with acidity, of course, is lime. Salinity has been an issue over the years in many valleys. We've got quite a few salts that we need to be considering. We've got a general salinity rating from the EC or the electrical conductivity test, and we do some mathematics for you to present that information in a saturated extract form, and that's dependent on the soil texture. And that will then tell us again with the species or even down to the variety in some cases of what we're growing, our salinity tolerance based on species charts. Sodium is one of the most dominant salts in our landscape, of course, and also chloride. When we're thinking about sodium and chloride, we're thinking about the tolerance of the species that we're going to grow with regard to those salts, and particularly with chloride, what are the inputs of chloride in our system? So could that be manures, could it be irrigation water or fertilisers? And particularly irrigation water quality has a massive bearing on salinity at times. The next one is structure. What sort of soil type we have in terms of its friability, water infiltration, slaking and dispersion type properties. We're looking at things like exchangeable sodium percentages, exchangeable magnesium, exchangeable calcium and calcium-magnesium ratios that will inform us on the sort of structure that we might be encountering. Part of that also is grower observation or agronomist knowledge of the field, and if there are particular issues like dispersion, surface sealing, crusting, blockiness after cultivation, the ameliorant largely is either management or gypsum. The most important step is understanding what we're dealing with from a soil physical, chemical and biological standpoint before we even start looking at the particular nutrients that we've tested. Many of us are guilty when we get our soil test back of going straight to those nutrients and straight to the recommendation that your agronomist has given you and how much is it going to cost you. So we've done that framework part, we understand the soil that we're dealing with, and now we would start to think about those nutrients or elements and starting to frame up in our mind the sort of fertilisers or inputs of those particular nutrients along with our crop demand based on the soil levels that the laboratory analysis is giving us. And then the very last step, which is probably the most important, is the 4 or 5 R's, so the 4 R's of stewardship. And then we've added a 5th R in the Nutrient Advantage teaching framework of right agronomy, which is also just as important as the others. So the 5R process allows us then to hand a grower a well-rounded, informed recommendation so they can go forth with obviously a little bit of interpretation time for your agronomist and apply that program.